Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni moli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. We have two great guests for you today. First up, Anna Lozankowski will be here to celebrate her debut picture book, T-Rex Can't Tie Their Shoes. And later on in the show, 8-year-old Annushka Bhattachrjee will be here to celebrate My Magic Mirror. Before we invite Anna into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Snoodles, Cadoodles, Poodles, and lots of noodles. The hilarious new picture book from Stephen Joseph. It's a feel-good, smell-good, and taste-good story for kids. Out of a world where crankiness reigns and cars run on sauerkraut, comes an invention that changes everything. The Snoodomobile, the brainchild of Herbie Snoodleman. Now cars are powered by noodles, and the delicious aroma produced fills everyone with happiness. But one person does not enjoy the clean sky and clear air. Sauer Krudelman, the creator of the once popular Krautmobile. And when he seeks revenge on Herbie Snoodleman, something terrible happens. After all, anything is possible when cars run on noodles. Snoodles, Cadoodles, Poodles, and lots of noodles is a feel-good story for kids ages 5 to 10 that is so very wonderful and written by our friend Stephen Joseph. Stephen invites readers to enter a world where imagination can solve any challenge and even the crankiest person can find happiness. Get your copy today at Amazon or wherever books are sold. This episode is also brought to you by A Bust from Lafayette, a wonderful middle grade novel by Dorothea Jensen. 50 years after the American Revolution, a unique event occurred. Revolutionary War hero General Lafayette came on a farewell tour of America. He was mobbed like a rock star and greeted by several million Americans. Lafayette and his journey are the historical background for A Bust from Lafayette. This award-winning novel for middle and high schoolers tells a story of a clever, troubled girl, a wicked stepmother, an annoying brother, a mean teen, a handsome boy, a touch of romance, and a famous hero. Oh, and also a playful kiss. Get your copy today, A Bust from Lafayette by Dorothea Jensen. Join us right now from Winnipeg in Manitoba, Canada. Our guest today is here to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes. Thankfully, I can most mornings. Please welcome to the show, Anna Lazowski. Hey, Anna, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I can't wait for you to tell us all about T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes.
I can't wait to tell you.
Wow.
Everything about it.
Well, let's start with the story. What are we going to learn? What are we going to experience when we read your book?
So it's an alphabet book, but it's an alphabet book that's meant to encourage kids. So, kids are little and growing up. There's lots of things that we try to teach them. We want them to learn. We want them to get good at. And it can be really hard to learn new things, meet new challenges, all those milestones that kids have to hit. Especially learning how to tie your shoes before you go to school. So in the book, as you go through the alphabet, there's all these hilarious illustrations of animals drawn by Steph Labaris, who's an amazing illustrator. All these animals doing everyday things that kids are able to do, but they can't do. So it's all these images of animals failing terribly and spectacularly at all these things that kids can do, like a T-Rex trying to tie its shoes, but can't reach because of its tiny little arms. So we go through the alphabet and learn all about all the things animals can't do. It makes kids feel good because they can, of course, do a lot of these things, or at least it's possible for them to do a lot of these things. And then at the end of the book, there's some nonfiction back matter at the back where there's a fact about each animal and what they can do. So once kids see all the things that the animals can't do, they can go to the back and read these sort of fascinating animal facts that are kind of cool and the kind of things that kids really latch onto and like to tell their friends and parents and teachers about.
Very, very cool. Very cool. You know, as you're talking about, you know, the fact that kids have lots to learn, when you get down to it, we learn more in those first few years of life than we'll learn for the rest of our lives. It's really incredible the amount of learning that is done and how quickly it's done. And it's really complex learning. I mean, we have to learn how to walk. We have to learn how to talk and communicate and a whole lot of amazing things.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's stressful for parents, too. I think part of why I wanted to write this book is there aren't a lot of books for children that have negative statements in it. Like, this is a series of can'ts, and most are like, yay, you can do anything. So the message of this book is still very encouraging, and you can do all these things, but it's also, there's going to be a lot of times where you can't do something. And I think for parents, like especially first-time parents, when you have your first child, you're like obsessively watching for the milestones. The doctor's like, can the kid do this? Can they do this? Are they doing this? Are they doing this? Like, there's so many things that you're trying to keep track of and when you worry about because you don't really know what you're doing yet. You're figuring it as you go along. So in a way, like I was hoping that this book would also give parents and kids like the opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? It's okay if we don't get there yet. Because at the end of the book, there's this big double-page spread of all the animals, all the things that they can't do working together to kind of get all the stuff done. And it looks like a lot of fun. It's like a big party scene with everybody together. So I think I wanted it to be like an opportunity for everybody to just kind of take a breath and be like, you know, we'll get there eventually and it can be fun along the way and maybe just kind of take a deep breath and try to stress less a bit.
You know, one of the things we've talked a lot about here on the podcast is just encouraging kids to use that word yet. So when they get to something and they say, I can't do it yet. And I think that's important for parents to remember, too, as they're watching their kids, especially, as you said, those first-time parents, to remember that word yet. My son, my daughter, they can't do it yet, but they'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, different kids have different skills, right? They learn things at different times. And, you know, I have 2 kids and they both were they're completely different in what they learned and when and how. And part of it's interest. And then there's maturity and dexterity. And there's so much stuff that goes into it. And I think you also have to kind of meet your kid where they are and follow their own path a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's hard, too, for those first-time parents because the firstborn doesn't have the big brother or sister to look up to as an example.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I think we forget just how very much the younger siblings learn from their older siblings. You know, we can sit there and kind of demonstrate, but we're this giant monstrosity that kids put up on a pedestal. And, of course, we can do it. We're the God. But it's like when they can look up and they say, oh, that kid, my brother, my sister, they're only a year ahead of me. If they can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So was there some particular thing that happened in your life that inspired you to write T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes?
Well, there was a game that, I live in Canada, as you said, so it's very cold in the winter. So there's a lot of like trying to come up with ways to entertain small children when they're trapped indoors when it's too blizzardy or cold to go outside in the winter. So we would be like, kids would be leaping around in the living room. And for a while we were playing a game about T-Rexes and I don't remember where it started, but we were having fun with the tiny arms. And so we just could come all the things that T-Rexes wouldn't be able to do because they have such tiny arms and all the things that be challenging about that. I think the first thing was putting a fitted sheet on a bed. I just thought that would be hilarious because it would be popping off one side and they wouldn't be, you know, we need like 4 of them to kind of do it all at once. And then we just kind of started coming, okay, what else could they not do because of their tiny arms? Because you're just trying to fill time where you're like, okay, let's just see how far we can take this game. And this endless list of things. And then we ran into things for the T-Rex. We started, okay, what other animals could we come up with ideas for that are fun and silly? So we kind of did that a little bit. And I thought, you know, that would be kind of fun to really sort of explore. And I'd always wanted to write an alphabet book because I really like alphabet books. I think they can be fun and they can be really engaging and have great imagery involved. I thought this would be fun to see, like if there's an animal for each letter and then maybe some sort of alliterative word that would pair with the animal, and see how silly and how ridiculous these things could be, because the illustrations would, they kind of create themselves, which when Steph was talking about illustrating this book, she said like it was so fun for her because it's basically like one-liner jokes on each page, and then she could kind of just take it and run with it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Now you were mentioning that, this book was kind of born in the cold. And you mentioned to me before we started that Winnipeg is 7.5 hours north of Minneapolis.
Yeah, like 7, 8 hours drive.
7 or 8 hours drive. So, I think most people listening are having a hard time wrapping their head around where and how far and how close to Santa Claus you all are. What does the temperature get down to in Winnipeg during the winter?
Well, I only know it in Celsius, which is like minus 35 Celsius. I don't know what that is.
Minus 35. Yeah, that's
very cold.
That's really cold.
This year we've had a record amount of snow. I think we have, like, in some places 5 feet of snow.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's crazy out there.
That's well, great. The 2 feet of snow we got a couple of weeks ago doesn't seem so bad anymore.
No, it's unusual. I mean, I will say it also gets very hot here in the summer. People think it's cold all the time. It's not. It's like the opposite end of heat. So plus 30 in the summer, minus 30 in the winter. So we get the extremes.
Yeah. What was it? I know that you've been writing stories as a journalist, and you've been on your website. It says you've been writing stories since you were in 6th grade. What was it that inspired you to write a picture book at this point in your life?
I know a lot of people manage to write when their kids are small, and I was not one of those people because one of my kids didn't sleep through the night till they were 10 years old. So there was no extra creativity or brain space for that. But I mean, I have a creative job, but I also wanted a creative outlet that was not work related, that I could do at home, that didn't require, I have a background in fine arts too. I have a degree in photography and drawing, but I didn't want to have to go anywhere. Like I didn't want to have to go to a dark room. I didn't want to have to go buy tons of supplies. I wanted something that I could do inexpensively from home. So I was like, well, I have a laptop and I like writing. So I thought I'll just, play around with this for a little bit. And I wasn't really thinking, when I started, I didn't know anything about publishing, like nothing. I didn't know anything about agents, querying, publishers, how complicated and difficult it is. I didn't know any of that. I just started writing for fun.
Well, that's a great place to start when you want to create a book.
Mm-hmm.
Now that T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes is out there and you are an official picture book author, did you enjoy the process? Is this something that you want to continue to do?
Yeah, I have another book that's coming out with Kids Can Press called Dark Cloud that's coming out next year in the spring. And yeah, like it's funny. It kind of becomes, I don't want to say like an addiction, but like you get sort of wrapped up in how fun it is. It's almost like you open that door that's been closed for so long where like all the stories and all the characters and all the ideas live. And once it's open, like they just keep coming out. So yeah, I've written a lot more since this book was acquired. And yeah, I don't think that there'll be any stopping. I've written the first chapter book in a series that's going to be going out on submission soon. So I fully expect to just keep writing.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And, I think that there's, as you're telling us about T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes, I'm thinking there's a whole lot of great conversations with kids, just kind of praising them, letting them know the T-Rex can't do that, but you can do that. That's cool. How does that make you feel? And you're not able to do this other thing yet, but you'll be there soon enough. What other kind of things do you think families can talk about when they're reading T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes?
Well, I think something that's come up a lot, and a lot of teachers and libraries really like this, like the education market has been really big. I'll just show you the cover because it's super cute. I don't know if you've seen it. But so there's a lot of kids have fun trying to guess what the next animal is because they know that it's, they can look at a letter line, alphabet line on the wall in the school or in their class or whatever and see, okay, we're on B and it's a B, what might C be? And then they get to guess. And then another thing that is fun to do is once you've read through the book is like pick another animal or pick your favorite animal and come up with another activity. So it kind of lets kids imagine things themselves. And if, they have a dog, it's like, okay, look at your dog. What's something that the dog couldn't do that you can do? So they can kind of get to have their own opportunity to create their own little ideas and then do some drawings as well.
Yeah, that would be really, really fun. And, we talk about, parents oftentimes complain about, oh, my kid wants me to read this book for the 5,000th time and my head is going to come off. But if you're creative and if you're intentional when you're reading your books, every time you pick up, it might be the same book, but you can read that book in 5,000 different ways, from just picking it up from the first time and covering the words and taking a picture walk through the book and just talking about the pictures to doing what you're doing, like kind of guessing which animal is coming up next, sitting down and, okay, so the T-Rex can't tie his shoes. What other animal with a T might not be able to tie their shoes? And that's something families could have hours and hours and hours of fun with.
Mm-hmm. And then the kids act it out, right? They get really engaged and start leaping around. It's like my kids did when we were playing this game. They with a turtle, so they become a little turtle on the floor and start crawling around and see what that would be like to be down low instead of standing up. And it's just, you can be a bit more movement oriented too. So it doesn't have to be, and it's a silly book. Like, it is a silly book. So it gives kids the opportunity. It's like, okay, we're being silly now. So it gives them the opportunity to be silly. But then with the nonfiction stuff at the back with the fun facts. So if there's a day the parents aren't super interested in reading through all the letters, they want something a bit different, something a bit to, maybe talk about a bit more, they can pick one of those and read some of the fun animal facts with the kids. And it's a bit more sciencey.
Great.
A bit more informational. Yeah.
Now we know that, T-Rexes can't tie their shoes. What's the J animal? I'm Jedley. I just want to know what the J animal is.
The J animal. It's funny. I had so many different. Here we go. I'll show it to you too. Jaguars can't do jumping jacks.
They can't? That's surprising. Well, this J animal can't do jumping jacks very well either.
They gotta go this way. Yeah.
Well, this is really, really wonderful. I know people are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes and find out more about Anne Lazowski.
Well, they can find the book pretty much anywhere. So it's at all the usual online places people order books from. It's in indie bookstores. It's pretty much all over the place. You can order it online from Target or Walmart or anywhere you can order it from your local shop as well.
So there's no need to bundle up and go to where it's 30 Celsius below zero.
No, it can come to you.
That's wonderful. We've had a really fun time speaking to the author of T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes, Anna Lazowski. Hey, Anna, thanks for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.
Please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, at Reading With Your Kids on TikTok, at Jedley Magic on Twitter. And you are always welcome to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can sign up for our free newsletter and also use the contact button at the top of the page to let us know how we're doing, let us know what we're doing right, let us know what we could be doing better, and let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the podcast. Join us right now from right outside of one of my favorite cities in the world, Toronto in Ontario, Canada. Our guest is here to celebrate her debut chapter book. It's called My Magic Mirror. Please welcome to the show, Annushka Bhattachrjee. Hey, Annushka, how are you?
Good.
It's great to have you on the show. I should have mentioned that Annushka wrote this book at the tender age of 8 when she was in 3rd grade. She's grown a lot since then. She's 9 and she's in 4th grade right now. But we're really excited to have you on the show. Tell us all about My Magic Mirror, please.
Well, so I guess my inspiration was I was really bored during lockdown. So one day I just had the idea from a dream, and the dream was left unfinished. So no, I decided, hey, I think I should finish this. That's why I started writing, and I think it kind of stretched out a little longer than it should have. Yeah. But I wanted it to be like a real book, full of mystery and adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, and Anusha's getting a little bit of help from her press secretary, who is her younger sister, and we really appreciate that help. So the book there's a little bit of mystery. Who are some of the characters that we'll meet in the book?
So definitely there's Ara and Felix, the main characters, who are a brother and sister. The story is told from Ara's point of view, but Felix has like a really important role.
Yeah, and she based Felix on me.
Oh, and so the two characters meet each other playing Wii. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, like they're siblings.
Okay, all right, cool.
And their magic mirror suddenly decided to squirt them inside it, and they kind of went inside like an alternate universe, inside the story of the three little pigs. And so like when they decide to rescue the two pigs that were originally eaten by the big bad wolf, because the story was kind of bugging me. So so like I added a bunch of like plot twists to it. I like the ending. It's kind of like unexpected.
Wow. This is so cool. So many authors have told me, and it's even happened to me over the years. Well, I'll have this idea, a great idea, when I'm sleeping, and it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to write that down. I'll wake up and I'll remember that. Did you actually remember the dream when you woke up?
I remembered the first part of it, but the rest of it was left unfinished. So that's
what was the first part?
Like when they got sucked inside their magic mirror.
And the introduction?
And so that's where the dream ended, and then your imagination, your conscious imagination took over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, what was that like when you set out writing a book? Was there any part of you saying, I'm too young to write a book?
I wasn't actually sure if like my mom would publish it and everything. Like, but I like reading books a lot, so I wanted to contribute to the reading world.
Good for you. Now, what kind of books do you like to read?
I like humor, like fantasy and adventure.
Do you have a favorite author?
I have a couple. I guess like my 4 favorites are Aaron Hunter, J.K. Rowling, Tui T. Sutherland, and Brandon Sanderson.
Well, if we have any of those authors on the show in the future, I'm going to let them know that they have a fan outside of Toronto. Are there any other dreams? Do you think that you might become an author as a job? Or are there other careers that you're thinking about?
Well, there's a lot. Like, my dad says that you can have more than one career. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm thinking, like, definitely an author, a speed skater, and then, like, probably something to do with science.
Hey, if there's a parent out there who's listening and they have a child that's right around your age, and their kids are thinking, oh boy, I'd love to write a book, but I'm too young, and no one's going to listen to no one's going to want to read what I write. What advice would you give to that young person?
If I did it, they probably could too. Well, not they probably could. They definitely can.
I like that. I agree. It takes a lot of work and a lot of focus to write a book that's over 100 pages. What was it that helped you focus and stay on track as you wrote My Magic Mirror?
Simple boredom, I guess. There wasn't much to do. I did order a lot of books from the library, mm-hmm. but I finished them within a week.
Oh, wow. And I'm curious, once My Magic Mirror was written, did you read it to your little sister?
My sister, I don't really read to her. She read it herself.
And I guess, little sister, what did you think of My Magic Mirror?
Good.
Yeah, it was good?
Yeah, so my sister was really inspired.
Ooh.
And so she wrote her own kind of a picture/chapter book, and we just got the sample copies.
That's awesome. And what's the name of your picture/adventure book?
What is it?
The Adventure Kids.
The Adventure Kids. And tell everybody your name so they know where to look.
What's
What
your
is
name?
your name?
I don't know.
Annushka Bhattachrjee.
Hey, Annushka, is there a place that people can go online to find out more about you and more about your book?
So, it's on Amazon, and
Kindle Unlimited.
yeah, it's like on Amazon, and we also have our own website. So,
It's on Barnes & Noble.
yeah.
And Walmart.com.
Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.
And at the end of the book, there's like a scan thing.
Yeah, there's like, if you like,
Want
like,
to
there's
write
a-
your own book? Then you just get on the scan thingy
and like,
you can
and just contact us so that you can, like, so that we can, like, help you.
Awesome. That's really generous. Hey, I've had such a great time meeting both of you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Will you come back when your next book is available?
Yeah, so, like, I think if, like, already I'm writing, so this is the sample copy for my newest book. It's pretty long.
The Wishing Tree. Wow.
That's the shortest book I've ever read.
It's like the chapter book also.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, we've had an amazing time speaking to two wonderful young authors, Annushka Bhattachrjee and her sister. Hey, my friends, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Kat Cronenberg. She'll be here to celebrate, dream big, love big, think big. And she'll be coming to us from the big state of Texas. Hey, if you're the author of a fantastic children's book, please do visit readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the author's Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest on the podcast, to find out how you can submit your book to our Certified Great Read panel, and also find out how you can be a part of our monthly promotion program and have us celebrate your book here on the podcast with messages to our 84,000 plus social media followers. Display your book on our nationwide network of digital pedestrian billboards and have your book displayed at one of our live events. You can learn more by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click that Authors Click Here button at the top of the page. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. First, I want to start by thanking our guest, Anna Lazowski. Please be sure to check out T-Rexes Can't Tie Their Shoes. Also want to thank Annushka Bhattachrjee. Please check out My Magic Mirror. My team, they deserve a big thank you. Special thanks to Skylar Strauss for editing this episode of the podcast. Thanks to Fatima Khan, Rory Grady. Big thank you to my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.